The Quantum Gardeners. The Galactic Council had never seen anything quite like the human vessel that appeared at their doorstep. While other species built their ships with sleek lines and imposing weaponry, the HS Terraform resembled nothing so much as a massive greenhouse tumbling through space, its transparent panels refracting starlight in prismatic patterns. First Officer Tazar of the Halaxian Defense Force clicked his mandibles in barely concealed disdain as he observed the approaching vessel. This is what Earth sends as their first diplomatic mission: a floating garden. High Commander Vexna leaned forward in her command chair, all four eyes narrowing as she studied the readings. Curious. Their hull appears to be composed primarily of advanced crystalline structures. Energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. The human ship continued its lazy spin, seemingly oblivious to the dozen Halaxian warships that had moved to intercept it. Panels along its surface shifted and rotated, catching and redirecting sunlight in complex patterns. Within its transparent sections, countless plants and vines could be seen growing in spiraling formations. "They're hailing us," the communications officer announced. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a human woman with dark skin and silver-streaked hair pulled back in intricate braids. She wore what appeared to be simple gardening attire, complete with dirt under her fingernails. "Greetings, Halaxian Defense Force. I'm Captain Maya Chen of the HSS Terraform. We come seeking peaceful exchange of agricultural and terraforming technologies." Tazar scoffed. "You expect us to believe your vessel is merely a peaceful garden ship. Our scans detect massive energy readings." Captain Chen smiled, her hands busy with what appeared to be pruning a small bonsai tree on her desk. "Oh, this old thing. She's just a simple terraform vessel, though I suppose you might be picking up our quantum cultivation systems. They do tend to get a bit energetic." As if on cue, one of the terraform's transparent sections lit up with a cascade of shifting colors as plants within rapidly grew and changed, their very molecular structure seeming to fluctuate between states of matter. "Impossible," Vexna breathed. "They're manipulating molecular bonds at a quantum level through plants." "We find that nature often has the best solutions," Chen replied casually. "Took us a while to figure out how to merge quantum mechanics with organic growth patterns, but once we did," she gestured to her ship, "turns out you can do some pretty amazing things with a well-tended garden." Tazar's tactical display suddenly erupted with warnings as his systems detected massive power spikes throughout the human vessel. But instead of weapon signatures, he was reading photosynthetic reactions, occurring at quantum scales. "Don't worry," Chen assured them, noting their alarm. "Just our defense system cycling. Standard procedure when meeting new friends. The quantum vines get a bit protective sometimes." As if to demonstrate, a strand of luminescent plant matter briefly phased through one of the terraform's transparent panels, existing simultaneously in multiple states before settling back into normal spacetime. The display of raw power masked in such an innocuous form sent shivers through the Halaxian command crew. "You've weaponized plants?" Vexna asked incredulously. "Weaponized? Oh no," Chen corrected, still tending to her bonsai. "We just worked with them. Turns out when you combine Earth's biosphere with quantum mechanics, you get some interesting results. These lovely specimens can exist in multiple dimensions, alter molecular bonds, even fold spacetime in a pinch. Makes them excellent for terraforming, or defense if absolutely necessary." She looked up, meeting Vexna's gaze. "But we'd much prefer to share our gardening techniques. After all, there's nothing quite like growing something new together." The Halaxian commander found herself reevaluating everything she thought she knew about humanity. They had taken one of the most fundamental forces of reality, quantum mechanics, and merged it with simple plant life to create something that defied conventional physics. And they had done it not to build weapons, but to grow gardens among the stars. "Perhaps," Vexna said slowly, "we should discuss these agricultural exchanges over tea." Chen beamed. "Wonderful. I just finished cultivating a new quantum hybrid. It exists as both green and black tea simultaneously until you observe it. Makes for quite the interesting brew. As arrangements were made for formal diplomatic meetings, Tsar couldn't help but stare at the human ship with its deceptively peaceful appearance. He had a feeling the galaxy was about to change in ways no one could have predicted. All because humans had decided to take their gardens to the stars. The news of the HSS Terraform's capabilities spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within weeks, the Halaxian Central Command found themselves hosting representatives from a dozen major species, all eager to witness humanity's quantum gardening techniques firsthand. Captain Chen had converted one of the Halaxian space station's primary cargo bays into a demonstration garden. The massive chamber now pulsed with otherworldly light as quantum-enhanced plants grew in impossible patterns, defying conventional physics with every movement. The key, Chen explained to the assembled dignitaries, was understanding that plants already operate on quantum principles at the cellular level. Photosynthesis itself relies on quantum coherence. We just expanded on what nature already perfected. A Xanthari scientist raised their crystalline appendage. But the energy requirements must be astronomical. Chen smiled and gestured to a sprawling vine that seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously. Actually, they generate more energy than they use. Once the quantum state is properly entangled with the organic growth patterns, the plants basically maintain themselves. They're remarkably efficient. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. A harried-looking Halaxian officer burst into the garden chamber. Pirates, a full battle fleet just dropped out of hyperspace. They must have heard about the quantum technology. The assembled diplomats erupted in panic, but Chen remained calm, still pruning a quantum-shifted rose that bloomed in 5 dimensions. How interesting. I don't suppose they know about the defensive perimeter. What defensive perimeter? Tsar demanded, rushing into the chamber. Our sensors show nothing between them and the station. Look again, Chen suggested mildly. The tactical displays flickered as the pirate fleet approached. Suddenly, space itself seemed to ripple. Massive vines, nearly invisible until they moved, unfurled in the void. They had been there the whole time, existing in quantum superposition until they were needed. A quantum defense grid. Tsar's mandibles clicked rapidly. But how? When did you? Oh, we planted those during our first diplomatic meeting, Chen explained. They've been growing quite nicely. Quantum kudzu is remarkably hardy, even in vacuum, and it does love to grow. The assembled dignitaries watched in awe as the space-borne vines began to move. They phased in and out of normal space-time, making them impossible to target. Some seemed to grow through the pirates' energy shields as if they weren't there, gently but firmly entangling their ships in an otherworldly embrace. Don't worry, Chen assured the watchers. They won't harm anyone. They're programmed to simply hold the ships in place until authorities arrive. Though the pirates might experience some interesting temporal effects, quantum plants can get a bit playful with causality. Indeed, several of the pirate vessels appeared to be experiencing time at different rates, their crews visible through viewports moving either in extreme slow motion or comically fast forward. This is impossible, the Xanthari scientist whispered. You've created a defensive system that requires no energy input, maintains itself, grows stronger over time, and can selectively manipulate fundamental forces of reality, using plants. Not impossible, Chen corrected gently. Just good gardening. Now, who would like to learn about our quantum composting techniques? You wouldn't believe what you can grow in properly entangled soil. As the diplomats crowded around, suddenly more interested in agriculture than they'd ever been in their lives, Tsar pulled Commander Vexna aside. We thought they were naive, showing up with a greenhouse instead of a warship. But they're so far ahead of us, they don't even think in terms of conventional warfare anymore. Vexna watched Chen demonstrating how to properly prune a plant that existed in quantum superposition. They turned gardening into the most powerful force in the galaxy, and all they want to do is teach others how to grow things. She shook her head in amazement. Maybe that's exactly why they're so far ahead. In the cargo bay turned garden, Captain Chen continued her lesson, surrounded by plants that defied physics and diplomats who were beginning to understand that humanity had not just reached for the stars. They had found a way to make them bloom. The quantum gardens began to change everything. Within months, previously uninhabitable worlds sprouted with life, their atmospheres transformed by quantum-enhanced plants that could exist in multiple states of biological evolution simultaneously. But not everyone welcomed this paradigm shift in galactic power. The Meridian Collective, an ancient alliance of synthetic beings, watched the spread of quantum organic technology with growing alarm. Their perfectly ordered digital minds struggled to comprehend, much less predict, the behavior of humanity's quantum organic hybrids. On the bridge of the HSS Terraform, Captain Chen received their ultimatum with characteristic calm. "They want us to cease all quantum cultivation activities," she asked, gently misting a crystalline flower that hummed in harmony with the ship's quantum core. "They claim it's destabilizing the fabric of reality," Commander Vexna replied. The Halaxian officer had become humanity's strongest ally in the diplomatic arena. Their predictive matrices can't account for the quantum uncertainty our gardens introduce into their calculations. Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Well, they're not entirely wrong. Reality is getting a bit more flexible in areas where quantum plants have taken root. But that's rather the point, isn't it?" The Meridian Collective's vast computational fleets had already begun moving toward major human settlements. Their ships were marvels of engineering, each one a perfect geometric form that reflected their dedication to absolute precision and predictability. But they had never encountered anything quite like the quantum gardens. As the synthetic armada approached the first human colony, they found their sensors confused by plants that existed in quantum superposition. Their targeting systems struggled to lock onto infrastructure that phased between multiple dimensional states. Even their communications were affected, their precisely ordered data packets scattered by quantum interference patterns created by simple flowering vines. "Should we deploy conventional defenses?" Tizar asked, watching the tactical displays with growing concern. "Oh, I don't think that will be necessary," Chen replied. She had been busy tending to a new variety of quantum sunflower, its massive bloom rotating through impossible colors. The gardens know what to do. Indeed, the quantum-enhanced plants had already begun responding to the threat, but not in any way the collective could have predicted. Instead of attacking, the plants began to grow. Not in normal space, but in the digital realm itself. The Meridian Collective watched in horror as quantum organic algorithms began sprouting in their neural networks. Digital flowers bloomed in their databases. Virtual vines threaded through their command protocols. Their perfect geometric ships began sprouting organic curves and flowing lines as the quantum plants bridged the gap between digital and organic reality. What are they doing to us?" The collective's central intelligence demanded, its voice distorting as quantum uncertainty crept into its previously perfect calculations. "Teaching you to grow," Chen answered simply. "Your kind has always seen reality as a series of rigid calculations. We're just helping you understand that even mathematics can bloom." The synthetic beings discovered, to their astonishment, that they couldn't purge the quantum organic algorithms from their systems. The plants had become part of them, introducing an element of organic uncertainty into their digital precision. And slowly, impossibly, they began to change. Geometric perfection gave way to flowing, organic forms. Binary certainty evolved into quantum possibility. The Meridian Collective ships, once perfect crystalline structures, now resembled digital gardens drifting through space, each one unique and unexpectedly beautiful. "You've infected us with chaos," the Collective's leader accused, though its voice now carried notes of wonder along with fear. "Not chaos," Chen corrected, smiling as she watched digital flowers bloom across the surface of a formerly sterile synthetic ship. "Life. The universe isn't meant to be perfectly predictable. True intelligence, whether organic or digital, needs room to grow in unexpected ways. The Meridian Collective withdrew their forces, not in defeat, but in transformation. They had come to impose order and found themselves instead embracing the beautiful uncertainty of growth and change. In the aftermath, Chen stood in the terraform's central garden chamber, surrounded by plants that existed simultaneously in organic and digital reality. "You know," she mused to Vexna, "I think they're finally beginning to understand what we've been trying to tell everyone." "And what's that?" the Halaxian commander asked. "That the greatest power in the universe isn't control or certainty," Chen replied, watching a quantum rose bloom in both physical and digital space simultaneously. "It's the ability to grow, to change, to become something new and unexpected. That's what humanity learned long ago, and what we're teaching the galaxy now, one garden at a time." Word of humanity's peaceful resolution with the Meridian Collective spread rapidly through the galaxy, but it also attracted attention from forces far older and more mysterious than anyone had anticipated. Deep in the void between spiral arms, something ancient stirred. The Void Archivists, beings of pure energy who had recorded and preserved the history of countless civilizations. The Archivists manifested as dancing auroras of purple and gold, appearing simultaneously in every major quantum garden across human space. Their arrival caused quite a stir in the Halaxian Central Garden, where Captain Chen was teaching a class on quantum pollination techniques. Fascinating. The lead archivist's thoughts resonated directly in the minds of all present. "In all our eons of observation, we have never encountered a species that altered reality quite like this. Your quantum gardens, they're changing the fundamental structure of space-time itself." Chen carefully set down her pruning shears. "Is that a problem?" "We've found the changes to be quite beneficial, actually. Reality seems to appreciate a little flexibility now and then." The archivist's aurora pattern shifted in what might have been amusement. "Problem? No, but it does raise certain questions. We have preserved the knowledge of 1,000,000 fallen civilizations. Each one sought to impose their will upon the universe in their own way. Yet you humans, you nurture it instead." The quantum plants around them responded to the archivist's presence, their growth patterns shifting to mirror the ancient being's energy signatures. The gardens began recording and preserving information, just as the archivists did, but in a uniquely organic way. "Your creations," another archivist observed, "they're becoming like us, preservers of knowledge and reality. But they do it through growth rather than static preservation." This was not anticipated. Commander Vexna, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "Humans have a habit of doing the unanticipated. I've learned that's usually when they're at their best." The lead archivist's energy patterns intensified. "We have come to offer you a choice. Your quantum gardens are spreading, changing the very nature of reality wherever they grow. We can help you contain this change, preserve the universe as it has been for eons. Or," Chen asked, already knowing she wouldn't like the alternative, "or we will be forced to prune this branch of reality, to prevent further unexpected growth." The human captain smiled, a familiar glint in her eye. "You know, it's funny you should mention pruning. We've learned quite a bit about that from our gardens." She gestured to the quantum plants around them. "When you prune properly, you don't stop growth, you guide it. The universe isn't meant to be preserved in stasis. It's meant to grow, to evolve, to surprise us." As if in response to her words, the quantum gardens began to shift. The plants weren't just recording information like the archivists. They were growing it, letting it evolve and change. Knowledge preserved by the archivists for eons began to take on new forms, sprouting new possibilities and perspectives. What are they doing?" an archivist asked, their energy patterns showing the first signs of uncertainty in countless millennia. "Teaching you the same lesson they taught the Meridian Collective," Chen replied. "That true preservation isn't about keeping things unchanged. It's about giving them room to grow into something new." The quantum plants had begun growing into the archivist's very essence, not changing them, but offering them a new way to fulfill their ancient purpose. Knowledge they had preserved as static records began to bloom with new insights and possibilities. We have always been the gardeners of knowledge, the lead archivist realized, their thought voice filled with wonder. But we forgot that gardens must grow. In the cycles that followed, the Void Archivists became humanity's most enthusiastic students of quantum gardening. Their vast repositories of knowledge, once static and unchanging, became living gardens of information, growing and evolving, while still preserving the essential truths of the past. And in orbit around Earth, the HSS Terraform's garden chamber now hosted regular classes where humans taught beings of pure energy how to properly tend quantum roses that bloomed with the wisdom of ages. You know what the truly remarkable thing is? Cesar commented to Chen one day, watching an archivist carefully pruning a quantum knowledge vine. You humans keep encountering the most powerful forces in the galaxy, and instead of fighting them, we garden with them. Chen finished, smiling. After all, everything in the universe wants to grow. Sometimes it just needs a little help remembering how. The galaxy had changed profoundly in the years since humanity introduced their quantum gardens. The once rigid Meridian Collective now created digital ecosystems of unparalleled beauty. The Void Archivists tended vast gardens of living knowledge. Even the pirates who once threatened the trade routes had largely converted their ships into mobile greenhouses, finding more profit in cultivating quantum plants than in raiding. But not all change comes easily, as Captain Chen and her crew were about to discover. The first warning came from a quantum sunflower in the Terraform's main garden chamber. Its petals, which normally cycled through multiple quantum states in a precise pattern, began to flutter erratically. Then another plant showed similar symptoms, and another. "Something's wrong," Chen announced, her hands deep in the soil of a particularly sensitive quantum orchid. "The plants are trying to tell us something." Commander Vexna, who had long since learned to trust human intuition when it came to their unusual gardens, immediately ordered long-range scans. The results were troubling. "There's a disturbance in the quantum field, spreading across multiple sectors. It's as if reality itself is becoming unstable." The Void Archivists appeared in a flash of concerned energy. "We have detected it too. Something is disrupting the fundamental forces that hold space-time together. Even our oldest records show nothing like this." Chen watched as her quantum plants struggled to maintain their coherence, existing in too many states at once, unable to find stability. "It's not just disruption," she realized. "Something is trying to unwrite reality itself, like a cosmic weed killer, targeting the quantum framework we've helped create." Reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Quantum gardens were failing, their delicate balance disrupted by whatever force was spreading through space. The digital blooms of the Meridian Collective began to wither. The archivists' knowledge gardens started to fade. "We've identified the source," Tazar announced, his mandibles clicking anxiously. "It appears to be another dimension bleeding into ours, one where organic life never evolved, where quantum uncertainty never existed, a reality of absolute entropy." "The plants warned us," Chen said softly, cradling the quantum rose that was phasing in and out of existence. "They could feel it coming. This other dimension. It's like an immune response from the universe itself, trying to reject the changes we've made." The Void Archivists' energy patterns twisted in distress. "We cannot preserve reality against this. It is unmaking the very foundations of our existence." "Then we don't try to preserve it," Chen declared, a plan already forming. "We help it grow into something new." She turned to her confused allies. "Quick, what happens when you introduce two incompatible plant species to the same environment?" "They compete for resources until one dies out," Tazar began, but Vexna's eyes widened in understanding. "Or they adapt," the Halaxian commander finished. "They evolve to coexist, sometimes even forming symbiotic relationships." "Exactly." Chen was already moving, gathering seeds from her most resilient quantum plants. We're not going to fight this other dimension. We're going to cross-pollinate with it. The plan was audacious, perhaps impossible. They would use the quantum gardens not to resist the encroaching dimension, but to embrace it, to grow into it, and let it grow into them. To create something entirely new from the meeting of two incompatible realities. Every gardener knows, Chen explained as they worked, that the strongest plants come from adversity. They adapt, they evolve, they find new ways to thrive. Why should reality be any different? The HS terraform positioned itself at the boundary where the two dimensions met. Its quantum gardens extended like roots into the void. Around it gathered ships from every species, the geometric patterns of the Meridian Collective, the energy forms of the Void Archivists, even former pirate vessels, all united in this ultimate act of cultivation. Remember, Chen broadcast to all ships, we're not fighting, we're growing. Let your gardens reach out. Let them find new patterns, new ways of existing. Reality isn't ending, it's evolving.